You are listening to the Project Management Podcast at pm-podcast.com. And once again, we are coming to you live from the PMI Global Congress 2014 here in Phoenix, Arizona. Next to me is Mario Trentim. Hello.
Hello, it's my pleasure to be here.
Yes, finally we meet. We have communicated. You've been on the program before. It's good to see you.
Good to meet you also.
Yes. Congratulations to you, because you are the recipient of the Kerzner Award 2014 for Excellence in Applied Project Management.
Yeah, that's
I am not worthy.
Okay. It was a great surprise. Yeah, I'm very happy and very proud of that.
I imagine so, but unfortunately, there was a big risk that nobody knew about. The Sheraton caught on fire, and because of that, parts of the Sheraton, and because of that, you had to miss the awards ceremony.
Yeah, that's true.
That is so unfortunate.
Yeah, I was a little sad, but it happens.
Yeah, I was there, and I can tell you it was a beautiful ceremony that you received.
I had a recording.
Oh, you had the recording.
Yeah,
okay. Wonderful. So I learned that the award that you have been given wasn't actually for your book, because your book is also has the same title as your presentation, Managing Stakeholders as Clients. So tell us, how did it come to be? And this is actually important to understand why you're sitting here. How did it come to be that you received the award? And we'll begin at the beginning here.
Okay. The Harold Kerzner Award is a very prestigious award, and they analyze different dimensions of you as a professional. Mm-hmm. So you have to submit your contribution to project management practice, your projects, the projects you manage. Also, it is very nice because they have leadership contributions. You have to tell about your work-life balance. It is a very complete overview of you as a project manager and as a professional. And also, I'm a big fan of Harold Kerzner.
Right.
He's a star, and it was a very good experience, a great surprise. I'm very happy.
Okay. So first, this whole thing started with your book, right, which was an academic project of yours to write the book. It had to do with research, right?
Yeah. It all started in 2011. When I started this academic research project. The idea was to try to understand and discover why projects fail. This was the starting point. Then we developed this framework to manage stakeholders and started applying it and improving. And we got very good results, and we are getting a nice feedback from all around the world. People from Israel are sending me emails about the book, from Europe, from Asia, from the US, and it's very nice to know that people are applying this framework and it is working, it is helping them.
Okay, and the award you received for the application of the framework you developed to project management around the world.
Yeah, that's
Excellent.
true.
Excellent. Let me take a step back quickly, because you are different in the sense that you did not have to write a paper for the Congress.
Yeah.
You came here as an award recipient, and you presented about your framework, about your book. How was it for you as a presenter working together with PMI? How was the experience of giving a presentation here?
It was a very nice experience. People from PMI, first, they are very attentive and helpful. I have to thank them. Not only PMI, but PMI Education Foundation, who sponsors this award, Harold Kerzner Award. I developed my presentation based on lessons learned of this framework, explaining a little about tools and techniques of how to manage stakeholders, and also some true stories about successful projects and not so successful projects, right?
Right. So let's go through the presentation, and the presentation starts with a very important question. Why do projects fail? So tell us, why do they fail?
Yeah, that was the starting point, and I couldn't find it. This was the starting point. As an engineer, I have this engineering mind. I started by looking for root causes of failure, and I believed that if I identified all the root causes, and I couldn't try to fix them. That was the idea. But when we started doing that, What happens was that I found like 50 or 100 root cause of failure by scope, requirements, communication, so on. And we couldn't fix everything. So we had another approach, which was try to find what is working, what's the difference between successful projects and failed projects, and try to do what successful projects are doing. If you can enhance something that it's working, it will be better than trying to fix what is not working. That's the
Okay.
idea.
So, what did you find that was working that you were then trying to enhance?
Yeah, we found that in the projects we researched, they were doing well when you had good stakeholder management. And good stakeholder management, it is like common sense for us. You know that it's important. Everyone knows that it's important. Our listeners would agree with us, but it's not common practice. You have tools and techniques for stakeholder management. We have a theory behind that. You have methods, and people sometimes think that it's only social skills or soft skills and communication. Of course, this is very important, negotiation, communication, so on. But it is not only about that. You need real tools and you have steps to apply this properly. And that's why we developed this best practice, this framework. And it was, in the beginning, it was only for me. I was trying to write something like a notebook that I would follow and have better results in my projects. And it worked, and that's why we published. PMI liked it in 2011, 2012 when we submitted the book proposal. And since then, we have been applying it and improving. We changed it a little, but it's working very well with good
Okay.
results.
And of course, the one question I have to ask at this point is your book is about managing stakeholders as clients. The PMBOK guide came out. They added a new chapter on stakeholder management. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? Your book or the PMBOK guide?
Yeah, it is nice that you ask that. Everybody asks at the presentation also. It was not related. We started with this in 2011, 2012, as I told you. And then when the book was published, the PMBOK Guide, the 5th edition, was published with the new knowledge area. It was nice because when we thought about the book, we mentioned in the book the PMBOK Guide 4th edition. We also had a benchmark with Prince 2 and other frameworks. And when PMI added this new knowledge area, it was very nice because I felt that I was in the right way.
Exactly. So you came first. You said we need to manage our stakeholders. Next, the PMBOK guide comes out, has this new chapter.
Yeah.
That is a wonderful thing for you to see. That is a
Yeah.
confirmation.
Yes.
Yeah. So tell us about your framework, and maybe many people out there will be familiar with the PMBOK guide framework, and you can sort of relate your ideas to the PMBOK guide as well, and see where they're different and where they match.
Yeah, we divided it in 5 great processes, let's say that. And the first one is related to PMBOK Guide identification of stakeholders. It is develop an extensive list of stakeholders. And we have a lot of tools and techniques for this. I was asking at my presentation, and people use 1 or 2 of these tools. Usually what you do is brainstorming. Everybody does brainstorming, and you can't get a lot of stakeholders out of that. We have like 10 or 15 tools more that we mention in the framework. You can have expert opinion, documentation analysis, and many other, so that you can have a lot of stakeholders. This is the first step and the most important step, because if you miss stakeholders, your analysis won't work also. If you have like 10 stakeholders and you are forgetting 100 more, there's no use in analyzing them.
I assume this list of stakeholders is not something that's static. This is something that's ongoing, right? You have to go back, on a longer project, obviously, you have to go back and review this regularly.
Yeah, that was another important idea we added. Some people also have this sense, as you were saying, that stakeholder management is not a one-time process. It is an ongoing process all over your project lifecycle. So you have identification all over the life cycle, and you have to reassess these stakeholders all over also, because what's going to happen is that they're not static. They are changing, they are dynamic world, they are influencing each other, changing their minds, and we have to be aware of that.
Okay. So that was the first step, list all stakeholders. Then the second one is assess their strengths and priorities.
Yeah. Then we are going to apply some tools and techniques that we also have in the PMBOK guide, like the power interest grid, the SWOT analysis, salience model. But the real issue here is that there is homework to be done. You have to get that information. Because it is easy to say that they have high power, low power, interest, and so on.
How do you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the point. And we reinforce a lot this, that you have to get information and how to get this information and to be involved and engaged with your stakeholders.
Okay. Then the next step is establish available resources. Is that a documentation review or what are we talking about here?
We're talking about planning here, and what happens is that usually what we see is that stakeholder management is not conducted in a formal way.
Mhm.
You don't have resources and this kind of stuff, and so it won't have good results. What we have is a process here where you need to identify activities for stakeholder management that should be in your schedule. You need money for stakeholder management in your budget. You need human resource to do stakeholder management. So we have to think about what resources are needed to have proper stakeholder management. This is the focus of the third step.
Okay. The fourth step then decide how to involve and engage.
Yeah, then based on that identification, analysis, and resources you have, we are going to develop strategies to engage our stakeholders and decide how to apply this. This is the fourth step. And this is the most difficult step usually because you have to take action in this. It is in the execution phase most of the work, and you have to be very proactive in managing stakeholders.
Mhm. And then last but not least, consult and feedback.
Yeah, that closes the loop.
Right.
Because you have planning, then you have execution, and now you have control and feedback. You have to pay attention to our stakeholders as they are changing, and you have to confirm or not your assumptions. If they are not right, maybe you have to change your strategy, and you're going to know this by consulting and getting feedback from your stakeholders.
Okay. And you mentioned that in your book you talk a lot about the various tools and techniques for each of these 5 areas, for each of these 5 steps. Are the tools that you suggest much different from what we find in the PMBOK guide, or is yours just more encompassing and you offer more?
I have more tools than the PMBOK guide. I did a benchmarking with other standards also. In the book we mentioned Prince2, we mentioned PMBOK guide, and other methodologies also, because I believe that I always say that you have to be proficient in different project management language. Like know the PMBOK guide, you know IPMA, they have a competence framework, you have Prince2 and so on, and try to combine this to have more tools. So the bigger your toolbox, the better prepared you are. And it's not new tools, but we organized these tools in a step-by-step process. It is like we are condensing hard skills in project management here, which are tools and techniques that you have to apply, but you gotta also have your soft skills to know when it's better and what is better to apply.
Okay, so you've developed the framework, you've got it out there, it's being applied. What are the lessons learned?
Yeah, the lessons learned since we started applying the framework. The first one was that the stakeholders are not static, as we thought. Most of the time you build a stakeholder registry and then you never update it, and it is not what should happen in real world. This was one important lessons learned. And another lessons learned was that we innovate in applying problem structuring methods, which are simple ways that we can have a better systems thinking combining different views of your stakeholders, and they can understand better what's the big picture of the project. Because usually they are asking for changes and other things that impact your project because they don't know what's your project about. And engaging then in this learning process of project problem structuring methods, it was a very nice experience. We are expanding this using different problem structuring techniques like the soft systems methodology, strategic choice approach, which are very solid frameworks. And the last lessons learned, but not least important, was that we understood that we had to identify not only stakeholders and their needs, but also their relationships and links. Because, yeah,
how they relate to each other
yes.
as a group of stakeholders. Okay.
Yeah. So we improved the framework by understanding a project as a network of stakeholders that are exchanging benefits and exchanging commodities of power, as we have in this network.
Okay.
And you have to understand that and pay attention and be always updated with what's going on.
You said that you originally started out your academic research with the idea to determine why do projects fail. You found many failure points, but you found one area where all the successful projects were doing well, and that was stakeholder management. So in your experience in the various projects to where your framework was applied, was it successful? Were the projects successful in using your framework?
Most of them were. It's not a 100% guarantee that
Right.
it will work because projects are real world, as we had at Sheraton,
Yes.
right? And something bad can happen. But if you apply this, I can guarantee that you have a high success rate,
Okay.
higher than without applying it. And you build support coalition of your stakeholders, like alliances. And then when something bad happens, like risk or something external to the project, at least they understand what's happening and they will support you. And this is very important.
Stakeholder management takes time. It takes effort. It takes money. Have you found pushback from project sponsors in regards to doing a stakeholder management that is as in-depth as you suggest and also as the Pinball Guide suggests? Because it takes a lot of effort and money, and somebody has to pay for this. And why should I pay for this? Just do the project, for heaven's sake. Don't worry about all this red tape. Do you find this kind of attitude often?
Yes, for sure. Then we developed a training course, a short training course for sponsors.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so
that's fabulous.
Yeah, and we thought that this is very, very important. We have project managers, we have tools and methodology like Project Server, you have PMPs, and if sponsors don't know what their role are or their role is in the project, they can't help you, and you have a lot of problems because the project manager will be working as a sponsor and as a project manager, which are two different things. We separate these roles very clearly in the book. Like the sponsor is the business side of the project, and he has to support. He provides guidance and orientation to the project. It's like I say that the sponsor is like the board of a company. And the project manager is the execution guy. He's the CEO in the project. And he needs this guidance and orientation so that he can plan and manage daily activities of the project. If you don't have that, sometimes you don't have this steering for your project, and it's very bad. You might end in a wrong place.
Right. Do you mention this training at all in your book? Is it something that was developed afterwards?
I developed more after the book.
Okay, so it's not in the book yet. Where can people learn more about that training? Because to me, that is a fabulous idea. Finally, somebody who sees that we have to do something with the sponsors. Where can people learn more about that training?
Well, they can reach me at my email.
Okay, and we'll put contact information in the show notes.
And my website also. And we are getting great results from sponsorship training because they are more supportive for projects and project managers. they select better and prioritize projects, and it's been very nice working with sponsors. It's a different training because it has to be short.
Yes.
You can take like a week from your sponsor. We have 4 hours or 6 hours courses and very nice results.
Excellent. Many of our listeners are now scratching their heads and thinking, yeah, I should probably do more when it comes to stakeholder management. So their projects, they're already started. They are going forward with their projects. What can they do? Maybe one or two things that you could recommend to them. The project has already started. We're in the middle of it. I want to improve my stakeholder management. What are the two things that you would recommend that they can do?
I would recommend a step back so that you can identify your stakeholders, maybe put on hold your execution and planning, identify your stakeholders, and then engage them in a problem structuring method to get their views of the project. And what we are applying is that we call it a rich picture of your project, which is a combination of the views of different stakeholders and what they expect from the project. This is the idea. So that they are going to be more supportive. It is a powerful tool for persuasion, for getting commitment from our stakeholders.
Okay. The final question that I have been asking every presenter here at the Congress was always about the key takeaways. And in your case, I'd like to ask you about the key takeaway from your book. When you started writing the book, what was the big message, the conclusion that you wanted to give to the reader that they would learn, that they would take home and be able to apply?
Well, the key takeaway is that what we call stakeholder management is something that is not working today. And we created a new expression to say that is different, because what we have is that projects are meant to create value, right? And the other assumption is that value is related to our stakeholders' perception and expectations. So expectations they have in the beginning and their perception of what you are delivering. And what we've been doing until now is that we are managing our projects the way it is not engaging stakeholders. So stakeholder management is something like, I have my plan, I will build a well-crafted plan, and then I will do stakeholder management so that they don't bother me. Yeah? You are going to protect your execution. And now what we are suggesting is that you have to manage the project for your stakeholders, not your stakeholders for the project, which would be this traditional stakeholder management. Then we call this managing for stakeholders, which is that project management goal is to engage and involve stakeholders in creating value. That's the whole idea.
All right. Mario, thank you very much. Once again, the book is called Managing Stakeholders as Clients. It is published by PMI, written by Mario Trentim. It's about 180 pages thick. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, my pleasure.